Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And as we are getting closer and closer to game launch, the Warzone versus CDL Pro drama may well be back on the menu, with Dashy and Scump to a certain degree also calling out some of these Warzone guys. Dashy's perspective certainly is that it really doesn't take that much skill to be a Warzone pro at all. We might hopefully see into matchups between the two of them when the game launches. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Yes, red dots on the minimap. We do not believe they're coming back. Of course, the campaign is now out, ready to go. Or at least I think it is. Something like that. I haven't played it yet. I haven't even got Modern Warfare pre-ordered or anything yet. We'll see. I may buy it. I may not. We shall see if it's any good, especially for Search and Destroy and stuff. But yeah, I'm not giving Activision any of my money quite yet. But if they put Dead Silence in and maybe add some red dots back, it definitely increases their chances. I don't know if they're listening. This real quick thought was kind of funny if you guys are interested in this. Boston Academy needs a VOD recorder for the season. Paid position, simply record and keep VOD private to the team. If this is something that interests you, reply to this tweet. So I thought this is a kind of funny Twitter reply actually. But yeah, interesting. I really haven't heard any of this be announced as a role before, a VOD recorder. You rock up to the Boston scrims, you just record their POV, you upload it to a private YouTube video, release it to the team, and you're good to go. And then Hitch says, OpTic is looking for a VOD recorder spy. Paid position, simply record and keep VODs of other teams, and when Boston asks for it, you say the file is corrupted. If this is something that interests you, reply to this tweet. I'm interested, he says. You're trying to double-cross spy. I know what's going on here. Never. My wire isn't strapped on. So yeah, fantastic stuff from Doug as usual. The wire returns. Another funny thing here to mention from Donny Temp actually. So Seattle Surge were roasting Vegas in the tweet that they did yesterday, and then Don comes out with this MVP of the game. You guys helped inspire that line, right? It's of course one of the most memorable lines that say of his Make It Rain song. And he comes up with this here. So these are the stats from courtesy of BreakingBoy.gg of Seattle Surge versus Paris Legion at I think the first or second major last season. Don drops 12k damage, most damage in the lobby, 1.11 KD, knocks them out in game 5, and yeah, so this tournament right eliminated top 12. Seattle did not have the best start to that season, but yeah, pretty funny really how Temp's clapping back and saying yeah, MVP of the game was inspired by when he took down Seattle Surge at that major by dropping some good performances and even printing the replies here. So look, at the end of the year, it was Seattle that kind of got the last laugh, and still I thought this is pretty entertaining. Now let's dive into what the OpTic guys had to say on some of the Warzone pros. I thought it was pretty spicy. We of course saw that iLLeY, his birthday was yesterday, or maybe the day before now, and he's feeling good going into the new season. But also this I thought was a crazy crossover here. So podcast comes out yesterday when I think the guys were in Austin, but I believe Scump and maybe Hex are flying out to Seattle now for the Halo World Championship. But Lando Norris, of course, owner of Quadrant, but also Formula 1 driver, is in Austin for another good reason. There's an F1 race on this weekend that I even saw Courage was there with Dana Ricciardo and the guys, so it's pretty cool stuff. But again, Lando was actually on a podcast with Scum & Co. Crazy crossover. They talked about some really interesting things. But and also one thing to mention is that they talked towards the end about Quadrant and Lando's organization, why he started it, what the plan is. Like they didn't really say that much though. I thought Hex was going to quiz him maybe on the CDL and what he thought about the possibility of the Call of Duty League, and I was kind of interested to hear that discussion, which never really happened, to be honest. I don't know if it's in the extended edition, if there even is one of those for this podcast. But yeah, I mean, they didn't really talk about that. Lando said that he plays a lot of Call of Duty. He's into Halo now. They're into Rocket League. But he didn't really say much about potentially being interested in CDL expansion that we've kind of talked about. So thought it was interesting to note that. But also Scump talked about Warzone players for a time here and was kind of saying that like a lot of these guys, well, he was joking around really. So a lot of these guys are just straight up cheating because they're using the VPNs, right? Which is kind of not cheating in terms of pure aimbot, but you can use a VPN in Warzone, which I think is what people think that Nardi is probably doing. So you play against absolute burger lobbies, right? I think the plan used to be, I don't know, people have talked about this. You get the VPN, you go to like Hawaii or something, and then you play against, let's say, not too particularly good players. And that apparently is the strategy to get high kill games and stuff. So that's probably what Scump's implying, but he's kind of just joking around. But in fairness, Dashy kind of doubles down on this a little bit further when he said on stream that, you know what, he really likes watching players and likes watching stuff where players can get better and there's a real skill gap in the game. He reckons that Warzone is kind of anti-skill gap. He watches these guys, none of their movement seems any different to anyone else's movement. Like with auto tac sprint and all these things allowed, it's also kind of vanilla and cookie cutter, and he really doesn't see these guys as particularly skillful.
At least back then for me, like the satisfying part of grinding like video games, especially when I was with them, was just getting better. Just the games that are catering to everyone, that's like everyone's good and everyone has their moments, are just like so cringe to me, bro. It's so cringe. Like I want to watch someone like grind and be the best at what they do, and just see the difference between them and everybody else. Not just be like everyone's in the same like just grouped up as the same skill almost. Like when you watch Warzone kids, bro, like they all look the same to me, bro. Like I'm sorry, bro. Like, how is some of these POVs looking like Shotzzy's, bro? You know what I mean? Like it's just like way too easy. Cause you know why? Cause they just like they include so much like auto attack, dynamic, tap the slide. Like they just make everything that's like every mechanic like just easier for people. It's just,
I never hit 30, but I was close, I think, so probably 27.
Okay, that's a good. I mean, that's
That's
solid
way more
game,
than
man.
I've ever got. I think the most that I've ever gotten was like 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I play like all the time, and they're against higher skilled, players, obviously, because of my tenure in Call of Duty. Noah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Hector joined the lobby. I'd go get caffeine. I'd be like, it's time to try to farm a gameplay. Like,
What's the most you ever gotten, Sebas?
37.
37?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. What about you, Seth?
Disrespectful.
You lying?
I actually don't know what my highest is. It's probably. I couldn't tell you actually.
100,000?
No, what?
World Series of Warzone
squad-wide.
champion?
Yeah, it's probably around like 45 maybe. I actually don't.
Look, I'm not impressed you're a pro player.
Because I haven't played Caldera at all.
That's not impressive to me. You're a pro player. Of course you're going to kill
Well,
the
I'm not
the-
VPNing. Like I'm
the
not.
random-
I'm not cheating. Like all these Warzone guys are cheating. You know what I'm saying?
Oh!
Completely kidding. Completely kidding. Just fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't keep track of how many kills.
So what do you think about that, right? Does Dashy have a point here on the Warzone guys not really being up to scratch with, especially some of the CDL players? In fairness, Dashy's called for some time in terms of turning aim assist off, even in professional COD, or at least reducing the level of aim assist, to which point, you can get more of an idea of the skill gap in the game. He reckons the Warzone, the way it's done with dynamic aim assist and all this, the skill gap is very minimal between some of the players over there, which makes sense, of course, but at the same time, it's probably the case also, if that is the case, it's probably also the case in competitive COD where, where is the additional skill gap? Yes, you can talk about auto tactical sprint, which the pros have GA'd in competitive COD, but in terms of pure movement and pure gunny, the skill gap isn't as high as maybe it was in the past, and that's why he's kind of calling out some of the Warzone guys here. At the same time though, what is actually going to happen when the game launches? That's what I'm quite excited for, because we talked about when all the Warzone versus CDL Pro drama was going down, they're like, look, when the game launches, that's the time to drop the tournament between the pros and the Warzone guys, get Aiden, get Biffle, get Repulse, get these guys in to play either just some straight up hardpoint matches, which I think would be pretty good fun, just because at that point you don't know what the game is looking like. The game has just come out. No one really knows the rotations and everything. So just, it could be a pure test of skill in some essences. And also the possibility of search and destroy channels as well in that situation could also be quite viable. So yeah, into your thoughts in the comment section below. Does Dashy have a good point here on the Warzone side? Because we've even seen aBeZy said this recently as well, where he kind of said, yeah, Warzone pros doesn't really consider them pros. He just reckons they're content creators. And Dashy's kind of saying, well, you know what? All of these guys' movements kind of look like Shotzzy. But if everyone's movement looks like Shotzzy, then really none of them are like Shotzzy at all, because they just, don't have the skill gap that there is potentially in the pro side. So yeah, I thought it was an interesting statement. Just to mention this quickly, because around about this time last year, there was a big kickoff tourney that Hitch did with, I remember this actually, Spin the Wheel. They were kind of pairing up different partners right before the CDL started. And apparently Hitch wants to do it again this season, which could be pretty good timing actually. So yeah, he's looking to get involved in this. Hopefully that could potentially happen. Wanted to mention also the top 15, players. We're down to kind of the top 15 now. Afro was number 16 last season for the London Royal Ravens. I don't know. A lot of people say, and I think fair enough, towards the end of the season, especially the last few events, especially on LAN, wasn't really looking so good from his KD numbers. Definitely fell off a bit after, stage 1, stage 2. But some of his numbers are still very impressive. Control attack KD versus the top 3 teams at a 1.12. Search and destroy KD in a couple of the maps was very impressive as well. So I think Afro is actually one of the most the opinions on Afro are very much split between people who think, yeah, wow, Afro can be a real star player SMG, or people who just think Afro is massively overrated. So I think we might get some of that in the comment section below. I'm of the opinion that Afro can be a star player, but of course, maybe I'm a little bit biased there. I don't really want to dive into that too much more. But this also from Drazah I thought was kind of funny. Number 15 goes to Drazah. I didn't vote in this personally because I thought it's just going to be too difficult to make my mind up. So I thought, you know what, I'll let the guys decide, and everyone that Mack had voting on this to come up with a decent list. I think Drazah's probably fairly placed here. I think if you're looking right at the end of the season, Drazah should be a bit higher, but this is like an entire season power rankings of the players. And when you look at the overall numbers, I think you can kind of understand exactly why. But Drazah actually wasn't so happy about this, right? He was thinking that 15th definitely was underselling. I mean, look, at the end of the season since the Prime, his numbers, it was very impressive actually. But at the start of the year, didn't always have the greatest time. So I think it kind of balances it out. And of course, you've got to have a lot of the Thieves guys on this list anyway. And I'm personally wondering where the likes of Kenny will end up on this list, for example, given the fact that he wasn't good and then got really good. So where exactly does that put Kenny by the end of the season? Even as Drazah says 15, lol, he's like, yeah, I should be way higher than that. Going for top 14 next game is going to be hard, but I think I could do it, right? So yeah, pretty funny, I thought, from Drazah. That is the, well, as it stands, top 20. So Method, Slasher, CleanX, Temp, Afro, Drazah, 13th and 14th coming out today at some point or another. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Just to finish off with this one final thing here from Brian Stats, the highest KDs in a tournament of all time. Some of the most famous ones, of course, Formal, Infinite Warfare, Champs 2017. Some lesser known ones, Swanee Black Ops 2 had a crazy 1.48. This is minimum 10 maps as well. Also the full championship in 2013, Black Ops 2, Karma had a 1.44. Also a 1.44 in Vegas 2018. So that's kind of crazy, so many 1.44s. Also RC's that tourney at a 1.41, which kind of goes under the radar a little bit. But yeah, some of these numbers are kind of absurd. Quite a lot of these actually are from these online home series, right? So Sky's a 1.43 at CDL Paris. I think that was online. Octane's, this was definitely online, I'm pretty sure. And even Wuskin had a couple on this list as well, dropping 1.38, 1.37s respectively, but not necessarily winning anything. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.